Welcome to the Health Headliner podcast by Tudu Digital. Our content is informational only and not medical advice. Please consult your provider. Now, let's dive into today's headlines.
Ever feel tricked by your own brain? Like you KNW something is bad for you, but the memory of it still makes you crave it. Turns out there's some fascinating new research that might explain why that happens. We're going to take a deep dive into how dopamine, a brain chemical usually linked to pleasure, could actually play a role in decreasing the value we put on certain memories. And guess what? That could be huge for understanding things like addiction and those pesky cravings we just can't shake. We've got a scientific study straight from the source communications biology and a breakdown from Medical Express to help us unpack it all. Ready to get our brains buzzing?
Absolutely. Let's break this down.
Okay, so researchers at Michigan State University wanted to see how memories of rewarding things can change over time. They used mice for this study and trained them to associate a specific sound with getting a sweet treat, sucrose.
It's like teaching them a special signal that means something delicious is coming.
Exactly. But here's where it gets super interesting. They then made the mice feel sick after playing the sound, but without giving them the treat.
So the mice weren't actually eating the treat and feeling sick at the same time. They were just hearing the sound that reminded them of it.
Right. And what happened next is wild. The mice started acting as if the sweet treat itself had made them sick, even though they didn't eat it while feeling bad.
Essentially, their brains linked feeling sick with the memory of the treat, even though they didn't directly experience that connection.
It's like their brains tricked them into thinking sugar was the enemy.
It really highlights how powerful memories can be in shaping our perceptions and behaviors.
Okay, so how does dopamine, the pleasure chemical, fit into all of this?
Well, the researchers got really specific here. They focused on brain cells that produce dopamine, particularly the ones active when the mice retrieve the memory of the sweet treat.
So they were basically watching what these dopamine cells were doing during the experiment.
Exactly. And by manipulating these cells, sometimes blocking their activity, sometimes stimulating them, they found that dopamine is crucial in how those mice reevaluated the memory. When they blocked dopamine, the mice didn't change their feelings about the treat even after feeling sick. But when they stimulated those dopamine cells, the mice avoided the treat even more.
So dopamine isn't just about seeking pleasure. It's about changing our minds about things based on our experiences.
It seems that way. It challenges the traditional view of dopamine. Instead of just driving us towards rewards, it might actually help us adapt to new information, protect ourselves from harm, and update our understanding of what's good for us, even if that means changing how we feel about something we used to enjoy. Think about those cravings you mentioned earlier. What if dopamine is actually helping us avoid things that could be harmful, even if the memory of them is still tempting?
Wow, this is already making me think about my own cravings in a whole new light. But I gotta ask, what does this mean for us humans? Do mice brains really tell us anything about our own experiences?
That's a great question, and it's important to remember that this study was done on mice. Their brains are similar to ours in many ways, but not identical. We need more research to confirm whether these same mechanisms are at play in humans.
So this is just the beginning of a much bigger exploration into how dopamine affects memory.
Absolutely. This study focused on reward-related memories. But think about all the other types of memories. We have fearful memories, emotional memories, even traumatic memories. Could dopamine play a role in shaping those too? It's a question worth exploring further.
This is mind-blowing stuff. So even though we need more research, this study is already giving us some pretty big clues about the complex world of dopamine and memory. We're starting to see that dopamine might be involved in a much more nuanced process than we originally thought. It's not just about seeking pleasure, it's about learning, adapting, and making choices that could protect us, even if those choices mean resisting something tempting.
It's like dopamine is a key player in our brain's constant balancing act between desire and self-preservation.
We're just scratching the surface here, but it's already clear that there's so much more to uncover. We'll definitely be keeping an eye out for future research in this area.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing a fascinating study exploring the role of dopamine in memory.
Right. We were talking about how dopamine, often thought of as the pleasure chemical, might actually be involved in helping us change how we value certain memories, especially those linked to rewards.
And this could have huge implications for understanding how we make decisions and how we might approach things like addiction treatment.
That's what I'm really curious about. Can you unpack that a bit more? How could this research change how we think about addiction?
Well, addiction is often characterized by intense cravings, even when someone knows a substance is harmful. This research suggests that dopamine might be a key player in those cravings, but not in the way we traditionally thought.
So instead of just driving us towards those substances, dopamine might actually help us devalue the memories associated with them.
Exactly. It's like our brains are trying to protect us by diminishing the appeal of something that could be harmful. But sometimes those cravings are just too strong.
So could we use this knowledge to develop new treatments for addiction?
Potentially. If we can figure out how to manipulate dopamine activity in a safe and targeted way, we might be able to help people struggling with addiction by weakening the rewarding memories associated with a substance. Imagine if we could essentially rewire the brain to make those cravings less intense.
That would be incredible. It would be like giving people a fighting chance against something that often feels impossible to overcome. But like you said earlier, this research is still in its early stages. We need more studies to see if these findings hold true in humans.
Absolutely. It's important to be cautious and to avoid overstating the implications of a single study, but the potential here is undeniable.
This research has already challenged our traditional view of dopamine. It's not just about pleasure. It seems to be involved in this complex dance between desire learning and self-preservation.
It's like dopamine is helping us navigate a world full of temptations and potential dangers.
This reminds me of something we talked about earlier, free will. If dopamine can influence how we feel about things, even things we know are bad for us, does that mean we have less control over our choices than we think?
That's a really interesting question, and one that philosophers have been grappling with for centuries. This research certainly adds another layer of complexity to that debate, but it's important to remember that while our biology undoubtedly plays a role in our behavior, it doesn't dictate every decision we make.
So it's not a simple case of, my brain made me do it.
Definitely not. We still have agency. And we can make choices that align with our values and goals, even if those choices are difficult.
It's like our brains give us the ingredients, but we still get to decide what kind of cake we bake.
Exactly. This research is incredibly exciting, but it's important to avoid oversimplification. The brain is incredibly complex, and we're only beginning to understand the intricate interplay of factors that influence our behavior.
Well said. And before we move on, are there any other limitations of this research we should keep in mind?
We've mentioned this before, but it's important to remember this study was conducted on mice. While their brains share similarities with ours, they're not identical. Human brains are more complex, and more research is needed to confirm if these findings apply to us.
Right, and this study specifically focused on reward-related memories. Could dopamine play a different role in other types of memories?
Absolutely. It's entirely possible that dopamine's role in shaping our memories is even more nuanced than we currently understand. More research is definitely needed. But even with these limitations, this study gives us a fascinating glimpse into the complex world of the brain. It highlights the incredible plasticity of our brains, their ability to adapt and learn from experience. And it raises some really important questions about how we might use this knowledge to improve human health and well-being.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the study itself, the role of dopamine, the implications for addiction treatment, and even the philosophical questions this research raises about free will. What do you think are the most important takeaways for our listeners? So we've been on quite a journey exploring this new research about dopamine and memory. It's amazing to think how much we're still learning about the brain and its influence on our behavior.
It really is. This research reminds us that the brain is constantly evolving, adapting, and reshaping our understanding of the world.
Exactly. So after diving deep into this study and its potential implications, what are the key takeaways for our listeners? What do you hope they walk away with?
Well, first, I hope they come away with a sense of wonder about the complexity of the brain. It's not a static organ. It's constantly changing based on our experiences. And dopamine, the single chemical we've been talking about, is involved in so much more than we originally thought.
It's not just about seeking pleasure. It's about learning, adapting, and making choices that ultimately protect us, even if those choices mean resisting something tempting.
Exactly. And I think another takeaway is that scientific discoveries can have far-reaching implications, even beyond the specific questions they were designed to answer. This study started with a simple question about how memories of rewards can change over time. But look where it's led us. We're now talking about addiction treatment, free will, and the very nature of desire.
It's incredible how a single study can spark so many new avenues of exploration. It's a reminder that even small discoveries can have a ripple effect, leading to new insights and innovations that could potentially change the world.
Absolutely. And this is why investing in scientific research is so important. We never know what breakthroughs might emerge from the pursuit of knowledge.
Well, this deep dive has certainly left me feeling both informed and inspired to learn more. It's given me a new appreciation for the intricate interplay between my brain, my memories, and my choices.
And it's a reminder that even though our biology plays a role in shaping who we are and how we behave, we still have the power to make choices that align with our values.
So if our listeners are interested in learning more about this research, where can they go?
We've included links to the original scientific paper and the news article in the show notes. We encourage you to check them out and continue exploring this fascinating topic.
And remember, the brain is a vast and mysterious landscape, and we're only just beginning to chart its depths. There's still so much more to discover.
So stay curious, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring the incredible power of the human mind.
And that wraps up another deep dive. We'll be back next week with a new topic. Until then, stay curious, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Thanks for tuning in to the Health Headliner podcast by To Digital. Like and subscribe for more health news and breakthroughs. Stay healthy and informed. See you next time.